Continuing with our agenda, the rest of this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ivan Posey. He's a father, a tribal leader, an educator, and Ivan has spent a lifetime serving his community. He was born January 11th, 1960, was the youngest of 10 children. His upbringing on the Wind River Indian Reservation, along with his education at Fort Washakie Elementary School, Shoshone Indian School in Shoshone, Oklahoma, Central Army College, shaped his journey in the tribal leadership and education. After high school, Posey's journey led him to the United States Army, where he served with honor. His career then turned toward environmental management, civil rights, and diversity, working for 8 years with the U.S. Forest Service and the Shoshone National Forest Service. His dedication was recognized when he was elected as a Kellogg Fellow in 1993 and served as ambassador with Americans for Indians Opportunity. From 1994 until 2002, Ivan served on the Shoshone Business Council and was chairman from 2000 to 2002. He was employed as the cultural director for Fremont County School District 38, Arapaho School, before being appointed by the governor, David Friedenthal, as the first tribal liaison for the Shoshone Arapaho tribes on the Wind River Indian Reservation, where he served from 2003 to 2004. In 2004, he was elected back to the Shoshone Business Council and served as chairman from 2004 to 2011, retiring from the council in 2016. He served the tribe for 21 years. Through his career, Posey has been a leader in public safety, federal funding, law enforcement, youth issues, land resources, and gaming. He's the founder of the Eastern Shoshone Boys and Girls Club and served as chairman of the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Council, which consists of 11 tribes from Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho from 2011 to 2016. Currently, Posey serves on the following boards: American for Indian Opportunity, Advancement for Indigenous Opportunity International, Wind River Development Fund, and Community Engine Services. He also is the director of the Intertribal Cultural Center at CWC currently. He is a enrolled member of the North Shoshone Tribe, Eastern Shoshone Tribe, and also Northern Cheyenne and Northern Arapaho. Thank you, Mr. Posey.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I was telling my brother Dick Baldas, I said, I'll just keep you guys for a short time, maybe a couple hours. He said, I know you could talk that long, so cut it short. He told me. But nice introduction. I was trying to think, who is that guy? But as he said, I was born and raised here. And my dad was Shoshone and Arapaho. My mother is Northern Cheyenne from Lame Deer, Montana. And I was raised up here in North Fork. So very, very simple beginnings. And decided to, I think all my brothers and sisters decided to go to boarding school. I went to Shoshone, and it's a school that's been closed for quite a while now. But I was a non-traditional student, went back when I was 30 and started taking classes. And when I was selected as Kellogg Fellow for Americans for Indian Opportunity, it guided me towards public service. So in 1994, I ran and was fortunate to start serving my tribe. And it's a tough place when you have to follow a panel of lawyers, and it's I think sometimes they hear listen to them to discuss some of the things. I almost thought it was deja vu. We've talked about this for a long time, and I think the responsibility and the efforts to continue, whether it's a treatment as state or how to balance the beneficial uses of water, is very broad. And here on the Wind River, we talk about irrigation, and the treaty basically wanted us to become farmers and ranchers. And so in the early 1900s, they start developing our irrigation systems. And the way I feel about it, they never was intended for tribal people. And as of right now, you see those benefits are not for us. We have to deal with an irrigation system that was built in the early 1900s, and that is earthen. So it's an antiquated system, and the delivery system is not good. We got tribal members that could charge for water charges on parcels of land. They may not even know where it's at. You know, if they're heir to an allotment, and there's even a dry ditch that's supposed to deliver water and doesn't, they're still charged. So the system has been against at least the Wind River tribes from the beginning. And you know, the water case was filed against the tribes in 1977. And a lot of those people that helped fight that back then, my brother Richard Baldus was one of those. It was John Washke. It was Burton Hutchinson, and some of those people that some ain't with us no more. And I really think it's a responsibility to tell that story, to let our younger people know what was sacrificed back then. You know, we're dealt with challenges of language retention, customs, traditions, and you know, in the school system, they teach language now. But I think water, natural resources, our tradition and culture, you know, my nephew bought back to Buffalo. Those things are just as important in our school system. And we have a responsibility to make sure that is passed on in a broader sense. Because there's very few people, younger people that I interact with at the college that know very little about the water fight on the Wind River. And it's a sad thing because there was a lot of things that went into that back then. Inflow, you know, there was threats to our fisheries, as you guys will see tomorrow when you go to Diversion Dam, you know, down at the big wind below there, the threats to our fisheries. And I know there's the traditional and cultural aspect of water use, and that's very important. But I was looking at a study last year when I was elected to the state legislature, and you know, the most consistent economic business on a reservation is ranching and farming. It's and we got to change some of that. That there is enough for everybody, whether it's wildlife, whether it's buffalo, whether it's fisheries. There's got to be a balance there. So you know, I know that there's efforts to continue the treatment water of the state and our treatment as state. And but I think we really need to move forward on some of this. You know, I think as tribal members, we need to make sure our young kids pick that up and practice reciprocity with them. What we know, let's tell them about it. And let's redistribute that information in terms of water rights. Very important. You know, at the state this year, we did the budget session, and a lot of focus was on hiring more legal people for the Colorado River Compact. And as you looked at the news, they're going to take about a third of Button Gorge water and send it downstream. And I know there's some concerns about how that's going to drain Fontenelle on the other side of the mountain. But one of the, I think the gentleman's talking about global warming, and it may be here for a while. And you'll see more water fights. You'll see more efforts to dwindle water away from the tribes. We had a lot of discussion over the years when I was on the council here in terms of having a spigot. You know, because a lot of our water heads downstream. We don't really see the benefits of that. And I've already talked about the antiquated delivery system that creates alkali fuels, you know, because of seepage. But I think we do have challenges. We do have great legal minds. We have the historical, traditional, and that knowledge that we carry forward because that's what carried us this far. But we're at a threat to see how we manage it, how we manage at the local level, and how it's beneficial to most of the classes of tribal people and the non-tribal people who live here on this beautiful valley, in this beautiful valley. And it's there's going to be effort, I'm sure, with limited water supplies, more pull from the resources that we won in court, the 500,000 acre feet that we won. And I don't think we utilize a lot of that to our benefit yet. But it's very important that we recognize what we have, the traditional, the Clean Water Act. I remember when I was growing up, we didn't have no running water in our house. There was a river right below us, North Fork of the Little Wind here. So we go down there and that's where we got our drinking water, and we had a big tub where we soak once a week. I think we all took baths in the same water. But back then, and I heard one of our my uncle Harrison Shoyo told me one time, he said, and I don't know how relevant it is, but he said when we drank that water, the germs that we took in our body, what made us resilient or made us resistant to some illnesses. He said once they did the water treatment facilities and put chlorine and all these other things in there, it's when we start getting sick, And I don't know how true that is, but it makes sense to me. So I think that's in reference to clean water. I think a few years before I left the council, we pushed the Bureau of Indian Affairs to do a range inventory because a lot of our land was going out of production. And we did a tour with the Land Resource Committee, which I was chairman of that time. And people would point out, well, they put up alfalfa there. They put up corn there, and there was a lot of weeds. Of course, nowadays, snapweed and some of those invasive species. But I don't think that ever happened. I'm not too sure. Do you know, Clint, if that ever happened? Because I think with our efforts to move towards food sovereignty and some of those healthy, innovative approaches, maybe not innovative because it's how we took care of each other back then in terms of the food we ate. I think it's, like I mentioned earlier, there's enough for all of us. And there's enough in those pieces of land that we could become better at taking care of our people in these harsh times, in these limited water times. And I think it's up to us. I'm glad to see the young people that are interested in this area. I'm getting up there. My brother is a couple years ahead of me, and John's getting up there. But these people with this institutional knowledge, traditional knowledge, cultural knowledge, it's very important because that's what makes us Indian. That's what makes us tribal. And I think my time with the state is they know very little bit about us, about the Wind River tribes. They know how to fight us, obviously, but they don't know the ins and outs of who we are, how we got here, how da 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 da. I get questions asked all the time, and but I'll continue to do my best there. But I really think that I really want to stress the 4 R's, which is respect, responsibility, reciprocity, and redistribution. And I think those 4 R's will carry us because I think that looking back, that's what the people did behind us. But we have that responsibility to carry that stuff forward. And years ago, and Dick probably remembers this, 1994, the state offered to turn Boyson back over to us. And the state parks down there and the Boyson Reservoir, and also the benefits of the hydroelectric at the dam. Those talks ceased in 1996. And I think now that would have been a good start. But again, people didn't agree with that, and it just kind of fell to the wayside. But I also there's other things that at the state level, I introduced the interim topic to look at a state tribal policy. And I reviewed many of them, and I think the best one is an accord in Washington state between the 28 tribes there in the state of Washington, because I think we need something in place where the legislature or people in the state don't hop around and find their own answers of how to deal with tribes. You know, I was asked today about the redistricting about that happened at the national level and how it might affect Wyoming. But I think that's a different animal for us because the tribes are sovereign nations. They have their own governments. We're not a racial district in Louisiana. So it's going to be interesting how this discussion moves forward, because I'm sure people will try to undermine in that area too. But I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know it's warm in here, and it's you guys have been here for all day. But I really appreciate you taking time to listen to me today, and hopefully I give you some advice, a little bit of history about the reservation that I know of, and it's no different in Crow, or Rocky Boy, or some of the other reservations that I visited, the same issues. And I think not to badmouth the Bureau of Indian Affairs, but it's an agency that we deal with that has regulations that were developed in the 50s, and they still go by the same regulations that may not fit today. And we got good people that have bad policies, and they haven't really been helpful here on the Wind River anyway. But thank you so much for listening to me, and I wish you all well, and hope you learn a lot the next few days, especially on a field trip tomorrow. I think that's going to be very important. So thank you so much.